Welcome to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit, a platform where we have invited Spirit to share messages, healings, and transmissions with all of us. May this energetic experience help us to expand our awareness and to deepen the relationship we have with our higher self, our spiritual team, and with Source, however we define them. Thank you for being here and for taking part in this amazing journey. So welcome back to Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit. Today is sadly our last day, and this is our penultimate episode. We are here with Robin Gairaud. Did I pronounce that more or less okay?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so Robin, again, is someone that I met fairly recently as I was organizing this event. And I've loved the conversations that he and I have had. I love his energy, and I'm excited to see where this goes. We both seem to have a very kind of react in the moment kind of energy. So I don't know too much about the way that he works with channeling. We've talked a little bit about it. So I'm excited to see, like I say, where we go with this. So let Robin introduce himself, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so I'm Robin Gairaud, as you said. I am French, as you can hear it. And I channel information for a bit less than 20 years now. I am a clairvoyant, professional clairvoyant for 10 years now. And channeling has been a big part of my life, a life changer. That to be guided, it really changed a lot of things for me. And so I continue the way I work daily is I connect to person who come to me with a problem, for example, and I receive information about what's going on in beneath the problem, behind the problem. And I can see and feel the structure of the person, which is like the belief system of the person. And we go layer by layer to see the core of it and to bring it back to the conscious level. And when something is brought back to the conscious level, then you are able to move on with it. So that's my daily work, and as well, it's 12 years now. I help people to develop their third eyes abilities with seminars and workshop as well for 12 years now. And last thing is my first door for me was Reiki. It's a long time ago, it's 19 years ago. I discovered Reiki, and as soon as I started to channel Reiki, I had some images of animals, really like flashes, and that was the beginning of this long journey.
Beautiful. And so if I was to ask you what you would like to share with us, what would you like to share with us?
I would like to share tonight the different manner to channel information, because we have when it comes to channeling spirit, we all have this image of the person who receives the flow of the spirit and who can verbally express the voice of the spirit. And I would like to open the channeling to all the other manners which exist apart from this, And there are many manners to channel spirits and information as well. So maybe I'm going to start by explaining a bit the different channel we have within ourselves. So it's like the physical channel we have. Hearing, seeing, all these senses we have the same one on the etheric level. So I will start by what I would call clear feeling, which is information you can receive by your body. It means you can receive information like physically, energetically, and as well emotionally. And all this is what I call clear feeling. And most of the person already channeled by this way, even if you don't notice it or don't pay attention to it. The person who do energy healing, they are called to develop this side of them and to see all the different sensations you can have, because there are many sensations you can have. So on the physical level, it would be can be pain or sensation, tickling sometimes. On the energy level, it can be waves of energy, sensation of a presence as well. Sometimes it's like the heart is beating. Sometimes you feel cold on one area of your body. Sometimes you feel warm. All this kind of sensation or clear feeling. And you can as well feel some emotion sometimes. For example, it happened many times for me when I go through past life, for example, and I connect specific emotion. So the emotion is as well an experience we all have done before, like when we speak to somebody and we just can feel what this person is feeling, if it's sadness or maybe anger or tension. Even if his or her face is not showing anything, you can feel the emotion the person feels. So it's the same thing when it comes to clear feeling. So this sense is this extra sense, as I call it, as I call them, is you can go very far with this sense, but it can be a bit abstract, and it's really with the experience that you will be able to cross one feeling you have with what it means when you are connecting yourself or another person, for example. But it can be a very precise sense, and it's most of the time people want to see or hear. And clear feeling is a huge word that you can explore, and for me it's the sense which gives the third dimension to the information. And at the beginning I didn't have this sense very developed, and when it came to be more developed for me, it's really like I entered the 3D when it comes to information. So that's clear feeling.
I want to add something here, because you're making me think a lot about the clear feeling in a way that I hadn't quite associated it. When I was a child, my mother introduced me to different energy healing modalities, and we were taught that when we put our hands over somebody, we can feel the heat coming from them and through us and through the hand.
Mm.
It never occurred to me that that was a Claire feeling experience. And then likewise, you mentioned the idea of being able to recognize the source of the emotion that we're experiencing, whether it's from us or from someone else, or the meaning behind what we're getting, and getting that meaning through the feeling. I am developing my feeling more and more, and I'm beginning to notice the subtleties, because it can be really, really subtle. When I am practicing with my friends, there was one time where a spiritual friend of ours, Eric, came and was talking to us about, I was asking him questions about how can we tell the difference when we have thoughts in our head, whether it's our thought or our guide's thought or an angel's thought or someone else's thought. And what he said was, pay attention to the feeling in the thought. Notice. And I kind of interpreted that as every thought is going to be partnered with a frequency, a feeling, a sensation associated with it. And so what you're saying really resonates with me, and I'm kind of connecting dots as you're speaking in ways that I hadn't quite associated with as a clairsentient element. So thank you. Very cool.
Yeah, to continue what you said, Daniel, it's when you're a child, we have this reflex when we are hurt somewhere, we just put the hand on the top of it and we channel energy and we can feel it as well. So it's really a childhood thing we do without noticing. We are already channeling energy and already experiencing this clear feeling. And for the second part of what you said, that is true. From my experience, the best confirmation we can have about the information we receive come from the body. And you can even have a kind of a hierarchy of information with connected with the feeling you have in your body. When you receive an information, for me, for example, if the information is very important, when I'm in the core of the information, all my body is shaking, and I can have a wave of energy from head to toes. It's and sometimes it's much lighter than that, and that's how I can understand inside myself that this information is much more important than the other information. Okay. So now I'm going to continue with what I will call clear vision. Clear vision is where I started. As I said, I had flashes of animals. That's the first thing I saw. And when he came, I thought it was my mental, my imagination, and I was just pushing the images until it was too much, and I started to pay attention to them, and that was the beginning of channeling information for me. So clear vision is just to have images. They can be short, and they can be as well much longer. That like bit of films, like you in a movie in a way. And in between these two things, you can have a lot of different experience. It's really important for me when it comes to clear vision that you jump on the first vision you have. Most of the time you have a blackboard, you don't see much. And then you have some smoke eventually which comes. And at one point you will identify something. like maybe it's a horse, you can see a horse. It could be some other animals, but it's very important at this point to validate yourself in what you just seen, what you have just seen. And because it will be like the sparkle of the channeling. And from this point, you will be able to move on and continue to receive information. Clear seeing, clear vision. It's it's not a first level reading. You have to interpret the image you see, and that's very important when it comes to clear vision. It's a bit like the dream field of information. You cannot take it on the first degree. You have to interpret it. But most of the time when you receive the image or the film, you can feel inside yourself a way of interpreting it. It's very subtle thing. So when it comes, it doesn't take long for it to go away. So you have to be vigilant about what you feel at the moment you receive the image. So that's, yeah, basically the most important things for me about vision. One more thing I can add as well is when you have vision, always take notice about the details which is different than the rest of your vision. If everything is blue and you have a red object, just pay attention to this. If everything is in black and white and you have a color thing, pay attention to it. Or something which is just different than the rest of the image. Just, yeah, pay attention, because you might have a string to pull with this detail. He always says a lot. So
and there's something else that keeps on niggling at me to share, and this is, it can be visual, but auditory as well. There's the internal and the external. So you can hear, so I've been given messages in my inner ear while at the end of a dream sequence, just before I wake up. And I've also had one experience, I mentioned in another conversation, I had one experience where I was working on my laptop and I heard a sound outside of me that started behind my left, went through the center of my head, and then ended on the far right. And so that was an example of an external sound. And visibly, we can have images in our mind's eye, as I call it, or we can see physical. So when people see entities, or when they see auras, or when they see energy emanating from an object, that is an external clear visual. And when we see things internally, that's an internal clear visual. And so you can have both.
Yeah, it's for me, it's what I call intersenses. It's like one senses is bringing another senses, and it's very interesting because it can work on different level. But as you said, you can have a visions and hear something, and what you said is about spatiality as well. You can feel something is there, or nearer or further, and you can have sound connected to it. And for me, I will talk about it a bit later, but I am a lot about clear knowing now, and in clear knowing, I can know a picture, I can know an image, and then my brain is reconstructing it afterwards. It's very short, but first I know the image, and then my brain is building it. So it's really, sometimes you have like a dance in between these subtle senses, and they complete each other and they tell a story. And it's always very interesting when you have different level or different senses which combine themselves to give you a greater picture, yeah, about the information you receive. So
one thing that thing that I'd like to add about knowing, and this is, I feel like that's one of my stronger ones. And someone else, and I forget who it was, mentioned this, and I totally agree with this. Knowing tends to be a really difficult one to validate because it's not like you have a feeling or a sensation or a sound or a visual to accompany it. It's just like, I just know what it is. And whenever I do automatic writing, and I haven't been able to have the automatic writing where they take over my hand, not yet. But what I get is I just know what they want to say. And then, like you say, I translate that message into language. So like the words are, my brain is taking the knowing that I have and putting language to it. And oftentimes it's very difficult for me to not interfere with that, with my own consciousness, with my own words that I want to interpret. And so it's a subtle, again, like you say, it all comes from experience and being able to recognize the knowing for what it is and learning to convert that into an image or into words, into language, into some other sense, so that you can describe it in a way that makes sense. And that takes, believe me, I'm in this myself, it takes time and it takes practice. Like any muscle, the more you do it, the more you develop it, the easier it becomes, the stronger it becomes. But I just want to highlight the fact that most of us, if not all of us, have, and like Robin has said, we all have access to these extra sensory experiences. And most of us aren't necessarily associating that with we're channeling information. It's just the way that we all work. And the more that we become aware of it, the more we become conscious of it, we can learn to develop it and to strengthen that. And we all have different, our bodies have different specialities and preferences and interests that make it easier for us to focus on one versus another. There's a question that came in from Kelly. Is your knowing image perceived differently than clairvoyance, for example, more defined or vivid?
Can you say it again?
Is your knowing image perceived differently than clairvoyance? And so
yeah, because it's very interesting because for me that's with clear vision, then clear hearing, and for 6 years now I am on clear knowing. So I really can see the difference. About clear hearing, it's really I could hear a voice inside, like somebody speaking to me. And for me, it was my own voice. So, and for clear knowing, it's really like instant thoughts, instant thinking, like the thought is emerging inside my sense. And as you
Robin,
said,
I'm gonna. I'm having a really hard time understanding you. I don't know if it's my connection or if others as well. Your voice is cutting in and out.
Okay.
It's broken. It's broken for others as well. Yeah. So the connection with your side of things is interfering with the sound quality. So let's just see if that clears itself out. while you're kind of settling that.
I put my. Is it better for you?
I'm not sure. No, not yet. So I wonder if maybe if you log out and come back in, maybe it'll develop a stronger connection.
Is it better like this?
Well, that's clear. Yes, the volume is better, and hopefully the connection will remain. Cool.
Okay, perfect. We continue like this.
So
I start again.
Start over. Yes, beautiful.
Where I was. Yeah. So from my experience, I started with clear vision. Then a few years after, I had clear hearing, and for 6 years now, I have clear knowing. And for me, it was like one senses disappeared, another one arrived, disappeared, another one arrived. Meaning I still have clear vision, but much smaller than I had previously. So to answer the question about clear hearing, I had really the sensation that somebody was speaking to me inside myself. Like I could hear a voice. And it was my own voice that I could hear. I know that's different for some other person. For me, I was hearing my own voice. So at the beginning, it was very, was a bit,
the connection is losing again. The internet connection is a little bit low on your side. So Kelly, one thing that I wanted to add to this, and everybody is different. Everybody has a different experience of how the clairs work within themselves. And as for the difference in a knowing image versus a clairvoyance, my interpretation of that is that when we get information through a knowing and our brain creates an image, there's a different sensation to it than when we get an image first and then interpret the image through our brain. And so there's likely going to be a difference there, but it's playing off of your ability of your clairaudience and your clairvisual elements are going to come into play to support the knowing as well. Like Robin was saying, they're multi-layered and they support each other. But you should be able to identify and recognize a difference when it comes through one path versus another path. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, this is Kelly. May I comment?
Of course, please.
Yes, the way I was seeing it, like through clairvoyance, it seems like it's almost a visual of a vibratory type image where it maybe isn't as pronounced or clear, and it's got like fluctuations to it. And that's why I was wondering if the knowing piece of it makes that image maybe more solid. Does that make sense? Like because it's a knowing of that image. I don't know. That's what was coming up for me.
For my experience, Kelly, it was more solid in a way when I had the clear hearing, and even as well the clear vision, because I had something I could sit on in a way. When it comes to clear knowing, it's really much more subtle. And sometimes it comes like concept. And as Daniel was saying, it's not like an interpretation, but it goes through my channel. It's a high vibration that I will translate into my words, into my word as well, like what I know and all these things. It's like a filter in a way. And so clear hearing, it was much easier. But now I have the experience with clear knowing, and it goes much faster for me. That's the thing which is a plus for me in this experience.
Does that help, Kelly?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks.
I mean, for me, it's I'm still learning about my whole, like, whenever people ask me what am I, I'm like, I have no idea what I am. Not that I'm a big fan of labels, but I'm still learning what abilities my body is more relevant to, or more experienced with, or more happy to play with. And like I say, knowing is something that I didn't realize that was a Claire. Like, when I'm working with somebody in a spiritual session, like, I'll just know that their team wants me to ask a different question, or their team wants me to go in a different direction. And it's not like I hear a voice, and it's not like I see an image, but I just know it. And it's like I say, it's really hard for me to learn how to distinguish and differentiate between, is that me or is that them? And I'm learning to identify that. And it's, like I say, it can be very, very subtle.
Yeah, it is, because sometimes with clear knowing, it's very, very similar than the mental can bring to you. So it's quite difficult sometimes to make the difference. And it's really about what the people will say about it.
Robin, let me interrupt you again. The connection is slow on your side again. By chance, is there any way that you can connect via Ethernet? Is that possible?
No.
Sorry, guys. I don't mean to cut everybody off, but the connection. So something else that sometimes I've noticed.
No, I check. No, I'm sorry that I cannot do that, because I do everything with my phone. And,
so something else that I wanted to ask you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's perfect for me.
One thing that I wanted to ask you is something that I've noticed in other conversations I've had with people is when the internet starts kind of getting fuzzy and dodgy, when otherwise it was perfectly fine. It's when their team is wanting to come through and they've got something that they want to say. So I'm curious in asking your team if there's something that, first of all, are they creating this interference with the connection? And second of all, is there something that they would like to add to this conversation?
I'm asking them now. They want me to talk about them. They're like queuing. They want me to start speaking about them. So I'm going to talk about them within this subject, about clearing.
So before you go forward, Robin, because again, the connection is pretty bad and I can sort of make out the words that you're saying. Could I ask your team and my team and the entire collective that's supporting us if there's something they can do to help strengthen the signal so that we can continue this conversation? That would be amazing. And like I say, Robin, maybe if you drop out and come back in, maybe you'll be able to come back in with a stronger connection.
Yeah, I try this.
So try that.
Okay.
In the meantime, I'm just going to chat with everybody here. So Sally, yes, I agree with you. It is interesting that Robin's clairs are changing, and as he's learning to develop one, the others are kind of taking a back seat. And I think that's that makes sense to me, because if my team wants me to learn to develop a stronger sense in visual, for example, it kind of makes sense that my higher self or my team, whoever it is that's helping me develop this is going to put the volume down on the others so that I can focus on one area more and develop my relationship with that more. And it is a good question whether or not they will reappear. Yeah. So while Robin is away, if anybody has any things that you would like to ask or share, or feel free to let me know. Like I've said to you guys, I'm very transparent. I'm learning. I'm still a novice in all of this. So it's a journey. It's an internal journey of developing skill sets, of learning skill sets that I didn't even know existed, and learning how to learn about them because they can be so subtle. It's starting to recognize like I say, the frequency, the feeling, the sensation associated with something and how that's different. I realize that I'm probably picking up the emotions of people around me and feeling them as if those are my emotions, and not knowing that was happening. So there's a lot of subtlety involved in the learning process. So Robin, there was a question with regards to your clairs. Interesting that they come and go, that they disappear. Do they reappear again? Sally talks about how she very occasionally sees things, but not very often, and she's hoping that they will come back and that'll happen more often for her.
Okay, for me it's really personal, because most of the person I have around, they don't have this specificity to lose one subtle sense after another. But to give an example, when I receive a message, sometimes they give me an image when it's worth 1,000 words. So it works this way now for me. It's like it comes from a clear knowing, but when an image is quicker and make more sense, they send me an image. So the clear vision, I still have it sometime, but less than I had. But according to clear hearing, it just disappeared. Now it's just clear knowing. I just have this sense. And to jump on clear hearing, that's what the spirit wanted to say, is I could hear my own voice, but the tone was changing depending on the spirit I was connecting. And that's something quite interesting. It's meaning like sometimes was a very round maternal tone for maybe, for example, Mary. It will be like this, or for Saint Germain, it will be like a tone very straight and nearly hard tone. And so I could feel the differences in between the spirits I was connecting with the tone more than with the difference of the voice. And for clear hearing, you can hear a lot of different things. It can be sound, it can be music. The experience to hear angels' music, which is just amazing. And you can hear words, just words, coming like this. You can hear sentences. You can hear like a whole message. And according to clear hearing messages, you have to understand as well that sometimes it's very short, it's much longer. But when we come to an end, it's the end. Sometimes I could feel it after 2 sentences. It was the end of the message, and you can feel it's the end. And sometimes it was like 3 pages. I was writing 3 pages before he stopped. And another thing interesting about channeling spirits is for me was working like a phone ringing. I could hear, I don't know the English word, it's acouphene, like a sound in my ear, in my ear. So I was on the right, sometimes on the left, and I knew that spirit wanted to communicate with me. And so I was just checking if it was a spirit or just sound in my ear. Most of the time it was a spirit.
Robert, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in again because the connection, your voice is cutting in and out again. I do apologize, guys. Technical issues oftentimes come into play with whenever we play with spirit, or can get involved. So let me answer your question, Bev, and hopefully this will give the system a little bit of time to strengthen on Robin's side. Automatic writing is something that was recommended to me by Sarah Landon as well as Jamie Butler, who are two people that I work with and have studied with. I haven't done the full Sarah Landon course for channeling, but she did offer a small one that I took part in. And they both recommended automatic writing as a way for us to, let me put my pin on so you guys can see me. So they both recommended automatic writing as a way for us to begin to connect and to develop that ability, to strengthen that ability. And what Sarah Landon suggested was very simply just ask your team, what does my higher self or what does my spiritual team have something to say for me? And just see what happens, see what comes out. Like I say, I get a knowing, of what the message is that they want to say. And then I translate that into words. What Jamie recommended was to, and I'm going to move the, sorry, let me switch video so I can show you. So what Jamie recommended was to get a clipboard and to put it on a surface where it's comfortable. Get the pen and rest the pen on the page without your arm being on something so that there's less resistance on the arm. And then invite your team, whoever is answering for you, to take over your hand. I haven't been able to do that. My hand never moves. But the idea of having the least amount of resistance so that there's less effort for them to move. And so that's what Jamie recommended. Like I'm still, eventually, hopefully I'll be able to develop that. I'm curious to play with it. But I haven't had automatic writing happen the way that others that I know, where their hand is just literally taken over by someone and messages are shared with them completely channeled outside of their own involvement. I'm very much involved in mine. I'm translating what I'm getting into words. So I'm typing or I'm writing my interpretation of the knowing that I have. All right, Robin, let's try again. Let's see if you can talk with us.
We cross fingers. Can you hear me? No, it's still very low. Is it better like this?
Daniel, you are on mute.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so Robin, okay.
I'm really sure.
You know, when the internet connection is slow, you get kind of that distorted digital interference that gets in the way. That's the way that you're coming through. And whenever you and I have spoken in the past, we never had this issue before. So I don't know.
No. I never had it before. I do on Zoom a lot. So
yeah. Maybe it's everybody's energy is interfering. Guys, tone down your energy. So Bev says, I often get different writing styles, not my usual penmanship. I think it must be different aspects of me. Yeah, it can be. Absolutely. And that's the other thing that I wanted to mention is, you know, Bev, you bring up a really good point that a lot of times we talk about, you know, channeling our higher self or channeling our spirit team or channeling different entities. And another way of saying this is that you're channeling different aspects of yourself. And so that's beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah, Chiara, your hand moves
with this I totally agree with this point of view that each spirit is a part of ourselves, and was very separating things at the beginning. The more I go, more I see things like this, like one spirit is a part of myself, which gonna talk to me about this part, and each spirit has his specialty and his a way of seeing things as well. Even if they are bigger views than we have, they are much good in certain fields. If I talk about, for example, natural spirits, some natural spirits are connected to earth, some natural spirits are connecting with water, fire, and air, or air, and then don't work on the same field. For example, the spirits which are connected with water, they will be really good with emotion. And the one like love and this kind of element, spirits, they will be really good with rooting yourself, for example. And one interesting thing as well with spirit is we have some spirits which are with us from the time we are born. And some other spirits are coming just for a small amount of time. They gonna help us with one thematic we have. For example, at one point of my life, I was exploring recognition. And one spirit came to help me with this. And all the life was conspiring to bring me experience, to go deeper in this thematic of being recognized and recognize other person. And I can observe that during our life, we go from one thematic to another one, and now that the energy is so high, we don't have rest anymore. It meaning we treat one layer, and we don't have time to rest, and there's another layer to treat, and it's sometimes 3 levels at the same time that we have to treat. So there is an acceleration, and spirit are good allies to help us to evolve. Because for me, all the invisible world is there to help us to evolve, meaning knowing ourselves better. And that's for me the purpose of life. It's like knowing you better, and knowing ourselves better, it's about quitting more and more the illusion. Knowing yourself is getting essential on what we really are, and spending less time on the illusion part of ourselves. And the spirit are very good to guide us with this. And I'm gonna bring back as well my experience, because when I started to so with clear vision, I had a lot of travels, like visual journey. And so I was meeting my guides and had a lot of adventure with them, but nothing was changing in my life. And I spent 2 or 3 years like this. I felt in this world that I had all the power I wanted, but nothing was changing in my life. And the way was that it's because I didn't want to make really this experience somewhere else. And I was refusing my incarnation in a way. And after one accident I had, I really had the choice. I had the choice to stay there and but to do something.
I'm going to stop you here because I cannot follow a single word you're saying because of the connection. It was kind of cutting in and out, so I could hear a little bit, but then in the last couple sentences, I just couldn't understand a single word. So I'm going to address a couple questions or comments that have come through. Hopefully, again, the connection will, it comes in and out. We can hear you for a little bit and then you fall out. So Bev talks about how she has pens that she won't let other people use, and whether or not this is something to do with energy. I'm kind of interpreting your question, Bev. I hope that's okay. It's interesting that you mentioned that because we've shared throughout this weekend that objects have their own energy and have their own spirit, their own essence to it, their own level of consciousness. And so it's very possible that those pens are, aligned with you and they don't want to have that interference of someone else's energy, and or you want to align with the pen and don't want to have the interference of someone else's energy. The metaphor that I get in my mind is I dance Argentine tango, and when I dance with somebody, the relationship and the energy that I have with that person influences how I dance with the next person until we kind of acclimate to each other, and then the remnants of the previous person kind of falls away. And it's possible that your pens, either you or the pens, and what you're picking up on is the consciousness of the pens that are requesting that of you. So I think that's possible, absolutely. Bev, you're saying you're telling yourself to calm down, detach, and be open to receive this valuable information for your benefit. I need it. I'm safe to and ready to learn. No resistance, please. I love the invitation. What I'll say is, at least in my experience, the more we allow things to happen in their own time, and like Sandra was saying, no expectations, no attachments, putting the request out there, being open to it without getting caught up in how it's going to present, knowing or adding to the request for my highest good, for the greater good, so that there's an opening for spirit to help us in ways beyond what we can even imagine. Because a lot of times as we're learning this, and believe me, I'm with you on this, as we're learning to develop these skills, we have our own ideas of what the skill is going to be like and how it's supposed to look and feel and sense and sound. And our ideas of what it's supposed to be ends up creating almost like an innocent resistance or structure from which we're only allowing this amount of information through in this way. And when we allow ourselves and we communicate through our intention that we're open for it to be or better than what we know or greater than what we expect, then we open up that container and allow our higher self and our team to assist us in ways that are above and beyond and go outside of our very limited idea of what they are. So hopefully that's helpful. Robin, let's try again. Go for it.
Yeah, let's try again. It's okay right now? You can, okay. I wanted to add some doors about what you said and about the channeling movement in a way. We were talking about handwriting. You can channel as well movements. I had somebody I knew, he just could channel a kind of dance or specific movement. So that's a way of channeling with the body as well that I didn't talk about before. I had a person in one seminar as well. She was channeling by drawing. And it's very interesting because she was jealous of all the other person, and all the other person were jealous about her. Because when she finished, when you looked at the drawing she made, all the body was shaking. Energy was flowing all around. It was crazy powerful.
I just got chills listening to that.
Yeah, it was amazing. So there are so many manners to channel energy or presence. So I'm gonna talk about really quickly about clear knowing, and after I will talk about more how to get in a relation with spirit, because it's like the first step. So clear knowing, I always give this example, is like you're driving your car and you know on the next street on your right, you will find a place to park. Nobody told you this, you just know, and you didn't hear it. It's just something you know. And as I said earlier, it's through clear knowing, I can know a smell, I can know an image, I can know a lot of things. And it can comes like concepts as well. Like I receive a concept, and after my brain will build the translation of it in a way. So it's all this clear knowing, and it's very very fluid and very quick. It's a really quick way to channel. But most of the time, it's difficult to be sure. But I am sure inside myself that most of the person that have this ability. But because it's difficult to validate, people cannot really use it. So when it comes to channeling spirit, for me, something which really helped me is to touch the energy of the spirit. And I think because we are a really rational person, we live in a rational world, even if we believe in spirits, it takes some time and it takes some experiences for being able to really be sure, like 100% spirit exists and they are for real. And for me, being able to touch spirits was a big step for me. So the technique is very simple. You can put any object on the floor and you call the spirit you want to work with, and you ask the spirit to be on the object you put on the floor. So the object will be the center of the energy of the spirit. You will take your hand and take a distance, maybe a meter or two maximum. Then you go towards the object, the center of the spirit energy, very slowly. When I say very slowly, is this speed. Because what you're gonna feel is a difference where there are no energy when the energy starts. When your hand will be into the energy, you won't feel much. It's really the frontier in between no energy and the beginning of the layer that you will feel. So when you feel it, you can go a bit behind, few centimeters, and you go again just to feel the beginning. And it's very a strong experience, because you will be able to see how it appears for you, how it takes place and form. For some people, you will feel it. For some people, you will feel tickling in your hand. And for some people, you will feel different in the density of the hair. And some people, they feel these three things. For other persons, the heart will open itself, or any other feeling in your body. It's very a personal way of perceive things. But it's, for me, it has been very important to feel, to touch with my fingers the energy. And after, you can feel different energies, like depending on the spirit you work with. It will be, as I said earlier, with the tone, in fact, it will be very round, very maternal, or very sharp, or very surrounding energy, very balanced. For example, Jesus, for me, it's very a balanced energy, and so on. It's very, it's a great experience to make. And if you want to go further, you just ask yourself to channel a certain kind of energy. I want to channel Jesus now, and you see what you feel in your hand, in your body. I want to channel Buddha, or other spirit, any spirit you want. You just channel it in your body and your hand, and you will really make this experience to feel the energy.
That's a beautiful exercise. I love that invitation.
Yeah.
And Sally also thanks you, because she said it was great. Beautiful, beautiful.
And it helps to make it real, because it's not easy to make it real. For me, the first time I could really feel one spirit, it was a water spirit. It opened up my world, like it was crazy, because all the things that I heard when I was a child, they were true. And I realized that the world is much more wonderful than I thought. And the last thing is, I feel energy when I think about it, is from this time, I never been alone anymore. Never. Even if I am on my own, I don't feel alone. There's always some spirit with me, or some energy. And it's something, it's been a life changer. All these feelings that I could have. So
there's something I wanted to add to that, and it's
yeah.
I've mentioned this a couple times, that what happens to me is I get pestered over and over again with a thought, and I start to get the impression that this isn't just my initial thought, and this is something that I'm being invited to share. And so this is the second time that this has come up. As you were talking about feeling the energy of spirit by putting an object on the floor and inviting the energy to be within that object, and then approaching that object with your hand very slowly. It reminds me of when I was learning to play with energy work. One of the things that we're told is, put your hands facing each other and bring them into each other little by little, and you're going to get to a point where you start to feel like a magnetic push, where the hands, there's resistance there. And if you start to feel that resistance, you can, move further out, and you can put more energy into your hands, and you can start moving further out. And I would imagine for me, because this is the way that I've kind of trained my senses to interpret energy, it's possible that when I do that exercise that Robin gave us, I might feel some of that, because I already have that as a reference. So spirit will utilize what we know to help us along our journey. And so if you're familiar with feeling heat or feeling cold or feeling something else, it's possible that that is what you're going to experience. And what I keep on being told over and over again is allow yourself to be open. Don't go in thinking I'm going to feel heat or I'm going to feel cold. Like I said earlier, allow, and Robin said this beautifully, you can get a different sensation or a feeling or an emotion or even a sound, or any of the other clairs can jump in to help you identify the edge of that spiritual energy. I think that's beautiful. Robin, you talk about, so Sally's asking, Robin, you talk about doubt. Was it difficult to overcome your doubts about what you were experiencing? If so, what enabled you to overcome the doubt?
Okay, it's a very good question. So, as I said at the beginning, I had flashes of animals, and as soon as they arrived, I pushed them. I didn't want them, so I was doubting them. I thought it was my imagination, and it's very interesting because now I know deeply inside myself that imagination, it is channeling. We are channeling. It's inspiration, and what we call imagination is already channeling information. But by the time I had all this thing about that, so I was really doubting about it. Then I bought some symbol dictionary and tried to study them, and so it's been very slow for me. It took years. When I see what people are reaching in 3 days of seminar now, I'm really jealous, in fact, because for me it took years. So it was good for me because it took me time to integrate things, but I always doubted, and I still doubt sometimes. And I think doubting is a kind of a friend you have to do the journey with. You cannot really, according to me, you cannot be without doubting. And I don't think it's a really good thing as well, to have no doubt. It's a kind of a barrier which keep us far from power on people, or this kind of thing for me. So it's normal to doubt, but you have to keep the doubt at the right place. And I used to say in my seminars that you can ask for confirmation 1 time, 2 times, but not 3 times. Because after, from the 3rd time, you just irrigate the doubting energy. So you have to accept at one moment is the information you have. But yeah, I've been doubting, and when my senses changed, when one was fading down and the other one was fading up, when the new sense arrived, it took me quite some time to adapt to it and to get confidence with it. And when you communicate with spirit, it's really about growing confidence relation, a trust relation with the spirit. That's why I recommend to work with not too many spirits at the beginning, so you can really grow a kind of friendship with the spirit. And what helped me when I started to have clear hearing and I started to channel spirits, it was that I could communicate with the body as well. So I was asking the spirit to balance me front or behind, to give me like close question. Like yes would be forward and no will be pushing me behind. And so I was receiving the information and I was asking this kind of confirmation. So it really accelerated the things for me. Like my trust was higher because of that. But to be frankly honest and answer your question, when I started, I was really on what I call my straight axe. And I was a very confident person. I was not very linked to people, but I was very trusting myself a lot. Now it's very different, in fact. I have less confidence than I had 15 years ago. So this trust and this confidence into myself, it helped me to go through this journey, because I learned everything by myself. So this confidence helped me to validate what I was receiving, and but still I was adopting on a regularly I was adopting, and still I am adopting, because sometimes I got an information which is so far from my consciousness or my way of seeing things, that he pushing me out of my control, and my pushing me about far from what I know, and I have to validate the information. So it's a friend that you have to keep at the right place, but which will be always there.
Robin, I would love to give your team an opportunity and a platform for them to share something. Everything that you've been talking about, the different connections, both within ourselves and how we receive messages, I think has been very helpful. Again, reminder to anybody, if you have any questions, please feel free to interact with us. But I would love to give your team a platform for them to share something.
Okay. Okay, they're like a reminder. They want to talk about the heart and the power of the heart in connection with channeling. And that's something I didn't talk, and which is so important for me. I don't know how I could forget that. So thanks for my team to remind me. At the beginning, I was channeling really through my third eye, and my information were like cold information, really precise information, but cold. And when I was working with people, I wasn't really linked to them, and my heart opened, and it changed everything. It's like as I said earlier, the 3D. My information were in 3 dimensions. I could feel a person, I could feel emotion, I could feel so many subtle things which gives all the richness of the information. And there is really a link between the third eye and the heart, which is most of the time interrupted by the throat, where we put all we don't want to say, all we don't want to get rid of it. And so it's most of the time it kind of make this connection, third eyes to heart, difficult. But more we advance in channeling, more this link open itself. And it's really, it's a daily life thing, because when the heart is open, you can feel so many things on so many levels. And it opens the power of love, which is about channeling. It opens a lot, but about being with other people, it's tremendous, because you can change things. It's, for me, it's really the link in between the channeling and the material world. Because from this place, you can revolve energy around yourself. You can change situations, and you can really feel when the spirits are with you, and they can help you to open this very essential center. So one more time, I don't know how I could forget this, and I thanks my team to remind me, because that's before channeling without the heart and after. And in fact, I cannot do it without that now. It's and it's as well a big center where we receive things. It's a center where we can be crossed by life, and that's a very important thing as well, because with information in life and with channeling, we have the masculine way of doing. The yang thing is like we block information and we are not touched. And the female or yin way of collecting information is we collect information, especially emotion, and sometimes we just dive into it for hours or days sometimes. And in between, you have the heart. The heart is like a thin layer within ourselves where we can vibrate the world. And vibrating the world is the first thing, the first connection we have with the world is vibration. Then we move to emotion through the mental level and all these things. But first thing first is vibration. And when we cannot handle it anymore, it will transform to emotion. And why it transforms to emotion? Because we know emotion. We know sadness, we know anger. So it's kind of a reference for us. We're going to go back to something we already know, while the vibration is always new. Vibration is always new within ourselves. And we perceive the world this way. And all the time, we have an interaction with the world and we collect information. Even if we're conscious or unconscious, we collect information all the time. All the instant present, we collect information. And sometimes we move from this instant, which is really the channeling instant, the place where we get empty and the information is just pumping up, emerge from this empty, inside emptiness. So when we move from this place, we go back to mental place or emotion, and we are not in present moment anymore. Only the art is the guardian of this place.
Robin, can you, for people like myself who have either turned down their connection with their heart or put blocks or filters or resistance around their heart, can you and your team provide some guidance to help us connect with that heart space?
Okay. I've been close to my feelings and my heart for more than 20 years. So I know what I know what it is. It's what keeps us from opening our heart is being touched, and being touched is can be very painful, and that's why most of the time we close our heart. So first thing is to choose people you are with when you open your heart, and maybe will be on your own. That's something very important, because you open a sacred place when you do this. So don't open this sacred place with everybody, because not everybody will be able to respect this place.
Can I get you to repeat that, because the connection kind of dropped a little bit? I could sort of make out what you were saying, but for others, I want to make sure that that's clear, because what you're saying is really, really helpful.
Okay. Most of the time we close from our feelings, or we close from our sensibility because we've been hurt, and sometimes deeply hurt. And opening your heart is really somewhere when during the opening, you will be very sensitive. And when it's totally open, nothing can happen to you. But during the opening, it's another story. So my first advice is to choose with who you are, which friend, with people you know you are with when you are opening your heart, or when you want to open your heart, because not everybody is able to respect this sacred place. Because when you open your heart, you really open a sacred place within yourself. And to be honest, it's as simple as saying, now I am opening my heart, and I prepare myself to sense the world, because it's really about this. It's really about taking layers out of our body, taking our protection off, dropping our weapons, and surrender to the energy of life, the living energy of life. And you can open your heart yourself, or you can be connected by another person's heart. And when two heart connect together, it's even something else. For me, the first time I opened my heart, it was because of my partner. And she was not my partner by the time, but when we connected here, it's just open completely. And I didn't know what it was, because I had no references about this. I wasn't falling in love. I was touching what love was, which is totally different. It's really, it opened here. My perception is like I've got some energy floating in front of my heart, but it can be so different from one person to another. And you can be helped as well in being in high vibration places, like holy places. It can help as well. And it's really the feeling when it's open is you are connected to everything. And in a way, it's really like touching God, because one definition of God I receive in channeling, and I really love, is the only one I like actually, is God is the sum of all the consciousness of the living, meaning all the consciousness of the living. It just the sum of all this consciousness. And when it's open here, it's like you are not a divided person. You contain everybody in your heart. Everybody, all the humanity is in your heart. So you are not separate from anybody. And it's great feeling, but sometimes it can be overwhelmed as well, because it can be surprising, but we are not, nothing is preparing us to feel love this way. It's it can be too much because we like to put things in boxes, and we like to control things, and it's really a total surrender experiment.
Beautiful. I love that. And I'm aware of the time. I would love to have you talk to us about your free offer and the special invitation that you've got available to people.
Okay. So the free offer is like to join the newsletter, and I will propose English workshop, for example, and session. And the special invitation, I have two kinds. It's like individual session with me. And in this individual session, I can connect to the problem you have, or limitation, or basically anything, and receive information about what's going on behind, going to the core of what's behind for you, and bring it back to the consciousness. And the other 1 hour session we can do is really about going to see which blockage you can have with your third eyes abilities, and just connect if there's some past life, if there's some belief not, and go there, connect it, bring back the information, and make it move with energy, and as well some exercise to develop that. And last thing is, in June I will do a channeling seminar, a 2-day online seminar, to help you to develop the ability of channeling. And so it will be a 2-day journey, and at the end I would like you to connect like verbal channeling, like feeling the flow of the spirit, using your mouth to express itself.
And will that workshop be in French or English?
It will be in English, totally
English. Okay.
in English.
Excellent.
And with,
so we have a few minutes if anybody has any last minute questions or anything else that you would like to add. But in the meantime, if if I could ask you, Robin, if there's any last minute comments or ideas that you would like to share with us as a closing.
As a closing is I will go back to the base. Channeling is a surrender experiment. It's really like let things happen, and creating emptiness inside ourselves. It's not an easy thing because our society doesn't bring us to this direction. It's really like creating emptiness and putting intention. It's something like you said earlier, but I really join you about this feeling. Let yourself surrender and see what's coming, because you don't know what will come. And even if you receive nothing and you feel great in this space, it's like a giant step already.
I love that, because a lot of times when we go into, let me pin myself for the recording. A lot of times when we go into these experiences, we have an idea that we're going to experience something. And I love the invitation that you just gave us to just recognize that when we go into the space, just recognize that we enjoy that space regardless of what comes or what doesn't come, and to just appreciate that, because that's huge already. And I love that you just invited us to do that. So for everybody, thank you for your patience throughout the technical difficulties. Hopefully you were able to get some great value out of this conversation. I, as always, I invite you to connect with Robin if you resonate with his energy and the way that he works. And we will see each other in about 30 minutes. Samuel is going to be speaking with us. If nothing else, I will leave you guys with being spirit, being human, and simply being from love. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you for being part of this incredible experience. We hope that this session has inspired a new level of understanding within you, allowing you to expand more easily into the essence of your true self and become an even more powerful alchemist in your own life. We invite you to listen to the session again and again in order to go deeper each time and expand even more. Have it be via the replays or the unlimited access package. If you have enjoyed being part of this event, we invite you to tell your friends so that they can join us in the future. We are grateful that you are here, and we thank you for co-creating this experience with us. Until next time, we leave you with being spirit, being human, and simply being from love.